about the CSS part, that is a cascading style sheet, which adds style to the HTML pages. So now till now we have discussed about XHTML and CSS, which are like a static things, which can be modified dynamically also. CSS and HTML can be modified not only like static static ways, but also there are ways we can modify the HTML dynamically in a runtime. So how it is possible? This is possible using the JavaScript concept. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about the JavaScript, which makes the pages interactive. That is the HTML pages. Okay, let's go to the first slide. So JavaScript. So I have discussed like JavaScript and Java both are different. Okay. I hope you all can hear my volume, my voice. So JavaScript or EcmaScript references. So these are the references that are provided for the JavaScript. The official EcmaScript 3rd edition specification. So this is the PDF which you can refer. Okay. You have some standards which you have to follow for JavaScript. So these things you can have the things clarified using the 3 links. So JavaScript as implemented in Mozilla products. So you have different products like different browsers like IE, Mozilla, Firefox, Mozilla Firefox and Chrome, UC browser. There are different kinds of browsers we have. So the last link is about the developer.mozilla.org. It provides some docs about the JavaScript, like how the origin has come up and how the things are moving around the JavaScript. Okay. This is a brief introduction. So now coming to the overview of JavaScript. Originally, the JavaScript was developed by the Netscape, joint development with Sun Microsystems in the year 1990. So in the year 1995, with the joint development with Sun Microsystems, Netscape has come up with the JavaScript in 1995. So the standard, this is the standard which it follows, like ECMA 262 of the European Computer Manufacturers Association, and ECMA 262 edition 3 is the current standard. So edition 3 is still under development. So what is the current standard that is following? Like HTML, we have certain standards, like we have to use doc types and all the other things which we can refer the www.w3.org. Similar way, in JavaScript we can have the standard ECMA 262. Okay. This is supported by Netscape, Mozilla and Internet Explorer. So now coming to the JavaScript components. See, as we discussed, there are certain things like client side and server side. So client side is nothing but where we can have a browser displaying the information of the backend. Okay. The browser, we can call it as a client, the client which helps us to display all the objects from the backend. So we call the browser as a client. So library of objects supporting the browser control and user interaction. So here user interaction means, see, when you fill a form, you are interacting with the server. So kind of interaction where user can see the data on the browser and interact in some different ways. Okay. So JavaScript performs the logic from the client side, which helps us to post the data to server and do some manipulations like navigating to different pages, clicking on drop downs, all kind of actions you can have it in a JavaScript. So now coming to the server side library of objects that support using web servers. So web servers help us to have the manipulations on the data, which helps us to have the data connection established between the client side and share the data on the browser. So the text focuses on the client side. On the client side, mainly we find the text related info or images or any kind of other displayable information. So now coming to the differences of the Java and JavaScript. So Java is a programming language which has object-oriented concepts, which has certain things like not only object-oriented concepts, it has servlets, etc. When you go deep into Java, so JavaScript is a kind of a client-side technology, and Java is a server-side technology where you can have the data manipulations in the Java end, and JavaScript has the internal logic applied for pages navigation and all other client-side validations, etc. So JavaScript has a different object model from Java. JavaScript is not strongly typed. So Java 1.6 has a support for scripting. So it has a support for scripting, and you can find the related info using this particular link. So you have another thing called Mozilla Rhino. It's an implementation of the JavaScript in Java. So in Java also you have an implementation of a JavaScript using this Mozilla Rhino option. So you can just go through the link to get a more detailed information. So coming to the uses of JavaScript. So what is the use of JavaScript? Provide alternative to server-side programming. So what happens here, like without the backend data, we can have the data from any data sources. When it cannot be, it is not necessary that we should have a backend for sure in order to have the data. Data can be put in the form of web services also. This is a real-time concept where we get the data in a form of a URL, and that URL, when it is embedded in the JavaScript, we can get the data from the URL. Mean the backend data is posted in the URL, and it is not necessary that the uh, backend should be continuously interacting with the front end. So it can have a middleware source like a web service where the data can be hosted and utilized by the client side or a front end developer. Okay, servers are often over here. You can see like provide alternative to server side programming. So all the validations and all, it can be handled from client side, that can be handled by JavaScript. It is not necessary that server side should be involved in any kind of validations or display or anything. So servers are often overloaded. Client processing has quicker reaction time. So with this client processing, the advantage is like within a less time we can have a quick things done. Okay, JavaScript can work with forms. So these form submissions and all, etc., like on submit, what are the functions that have to be triggered and all, we can go through the JavaScript concepts. JavaScript can interact with the internal model of the web page, that is a document object model. So internal model, this JavaScript, we have a model called as a document object model, in which we specify like there is a root which is called as a HTML, and we have a children under the root like head, title, div, body tag, div tag. This is the structure of having a root and a children notation. We call this as a document object model in a HTML. So JavaScript can interact with the document object model. So document object model is nothing but it will have a root as a HTML, and from the root it will have children like head, title, body, and within the body we can have a div tag, p tag. So we can have a siblings like p beside a p, kind of tree notation. We can have the document object model as a tree notation, where we can access any element of the tree using the JavaScript and modify the HTML dynamically. We can modify it. See, for example, in your page you have written a p tag statically, like you have coded it in a notepad. So using the JavaScript, you can get, if the p tag has a class name or ID, you can get the ID or a class name using some document.get element by ID of p. So whatever the p has the ID, it can get the ID and dynamically change the HTML p as some span tag or content of the p tag. Kind of things can be handled using the JavaScript with the help of document object model. Document object model is nothing but your root as HTML and the children as tag and the body, head, title. You can access the elements in a tree. JavaScript is used to provide more complex user interface than plain forms with HTML or CSS can provide. Here you can see like we can have several manipulations on the elements of the HTML, and you can perform the runtime operations using the JavaScript. So you can go to the link which provides an example. Protopage.com, it's an example, and a number of toolkits are available. Dojo, Founded, a toolkit which has all the, it's a kind of framework of the JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript is the basic what we say like interaction model in the web technologies. On top of the JavaScript, we have several libraries built on the JavaScript, libraries and frameworks built on the JavaScript, which helps us to manipulate the HTMLs in a proper organized way. So there are certain examples for it. So Dojo is one of the framework which has a parent as the JavaScript. So JavaScript is a basis for all kind of interaction models. So here you can see the event-driven computation. The name itself tells like, so every action we can call the action as event also. When you click on a button, it is an action. Then if that action is to be performed, an event has to be triggered. User actions such as mouse click and key presses are referred to as events. So we can take these examples as events, mouse click, key pressing of a keyboard or something. We can take it as an event. The main task of most JavaScript programs is to respond to events. See, the main thing we do in JavaScript is like we respond to events in a form of a functions. So when you click, like mouse click is happened, mouse click is done. So event has happened. So some action should be performed. What is the action? When you click the button, some page should open. So that kind of actions can be performed using the JavaScript. So that's a name we call it as event-driven computation. And for example, a JavaScript program could validate data in a form before it is submitted to a server. So before submitting the form to the server, if you would like to do any validations, like if your page has two name inputs, it is wrong. We can set a validation like that. So if there are more than one input tag, we should throw an error like a kind of try and exception. We can throw an error like please enter the input with a valid name. For example, for the name you have entered some numbers, then it should throw an error like this is called as a form validation, and it should throw an error like please enter a valid name. Okay. So it is important that crucial validations to be done by server. So data validations and all, it has to be done by server. So the client side things like handling the data in a front end, like displaying of entering of wrong information or anything, it should not accept it. So for example, a user might create a copy of web page but remove all the validation code. So all the validation maintain it in order to have a proper code that has to be passed to the proper form that has to be passed to the server end. Here XHTML or JavaScript documents. When JavaScript is embedded in XHTML document, the browser must interpret it. So two locations of JavaScript serve different purposes. So whenever you include the JavaScript in your XHTML documents, using a script tag, you can have the external JavaScript into into the page. So when JavaScript is embedded, here you can see like various strategies must be used to protect the JavaScript from the browser. For example, comparisons present a problem since these angular braces are used to mark in XHTML, and JavaScript code can be enclosed in the XHTML comments. JavaScript code can be enclosed in a C data section. So I will show you like what is a C data section and how the JavaScript code has to be embedded. Okay. Here also you can find two important points like JavaScript when it will be executed once as the page is loaded. Okay. Whenever the page's HTML document is loaded, within the HTML document, you will have this JavaScript link. Then, when the document is loaded, as soon as it observes the JavaScript link, then the JavaScript can be loaded immediately. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. I got some other call. So now continue the object orientation and the JavaScript. So as similar way Java has the object oriented concepts, JavaScript is also object based. So every group of elements we can have it as an object. See, JavaScript defines the objects that encapsulates both the data and processing. However, the JavaScript does not have true inheritance or subtyping. So when compared to the Java, you can have the things in Java like you can inherit from the parent to child some properties. For example, your parent has some color properties and you can inherit some properties from the parent to child or any kind of subtyping. But in JavaScript, it is not possible. Encapsulation can be possible in JavaScript. Okay. JavaScript provides a prototype-based inheritance. So instead of a normal inheritance that we generally follow in Java language, we can have the prototype-based inheritance where we can create the objects and we can inherit from the objects. Okay. For example, you can just refer to the prototype-based languages. Okay, this is actually an in-depth concept of the JavaScript. First, we need to go through the basic concepts of the JavaScript. Then you can get into more object-oriented concepts of the JavaScript if you have a basic knowledge of Java. Now coming to the JavaScript objects. So first understand like what an object is. So objects are the collection of properties. Mean whatever the properties, for example, a car has certain properties like color, machine number, nameplate, etc. These are all the different properties of one object like car. So if you take a car, it has certain properties. If you take a pen, it has certain properties like color, height, okay, and any other properties you can consider. So properties either data properties or method properties. So these properties can be either a data or a method. Method means you can consider it as a function which has a set of other things. So data properties means like I had given an example like a color, a car can has a color, machine name, manufacturing date kind of properties. So data properties are either primitive values or references to other objects. So we can consider these data properties as some values. So values like it can be numbers also, it can be a text also, or it can be references to other objects also. We can refer to some other objects. Property can individually refer to some other objects. Inside the car, you can have another object which can refer to other properties. So primitive values are often implemented directly in the hardware, and the object-oriented object is the ancestor of all the objects in a JavaScript program. So object has no data properties but several method properties. We can have the object which can have a method properties like we can consider as a function. So I will show you like how an object is declared, like where sum xyz is equal to new object. Means sum with xyz you can create an object and assign properties for that xyz. So you will better understand with the help of an example. So now see like in a similar way how we have embedded the CSS using a link attribute or internal or a document level embedding type and external type. Similar way, we have JavaScript in XHTML where we can directly embed the JavaScript using the script tag. So this script tag can be written in a header tag as like a style tag. Okay, script can be written in a ending of the body tag also. It is not a problem. So script type is equal to text slash JavaScript, and here we can have the JavaScript things written. See, these are the comments. If you can see, these are the HTML comments because it is in a HTML page, written in a HTML page. Now you can see the indirect reference. We can have the link embedded in the HTML page using the script tag. So script type is equal to text slash JavaScript, and source you can give it. For example, you have written your function in a separate file, and that file name has tst_number. Save the file with the extension .js. CSS we have saved it with an extension called. In the notepad you can write all your script tag and save it using a .js file. So this is the way how do we embed this script into our page. So now coming JavaScript in XHTML. So in XHTML, how do you embed the JavaScript using the CData tag? So this CData block is intended to hold the data. They should not be interpreted as XHTML. So this block tells like this is not an XHTML. Whatever the set of code we are writing within here is not an XHTML. So using this should allow any data, including the special symbols and underscore or dotted line. So here you can have the special character symbols because HTML does not allow any special characters within the code of the body. So we can have the data written in a CData where the CData in XHTML we can write a script type is equal to text slash JavaScript, and within the CData block we have to write the JavaScript functions or code. Whereas in HTML, as you see in a previous code, it is not necessary to write the CData. Okay. Actually, this is a syntax, but when you write the code using external script, it is not necessary that you include CData and all. But here, when you have the code written, you should mention like CData in a XHTML thing. The problem seems to be that CData tag causes an internal JavaScript error, and it has some problems when you use the CData. It causes some JavaScript internal errors. So for this, what we will do is like this does not work in Firefox. So this notation you can see like it does not work in a Firefox. Script type is equal to CData and JavaScript. Here you can see the comment section where we have commented the CData, as this particular attribute has been removed, and it helps us to remove certain errors which it is causing. Okay, as a standard it has mentioned like CData, but due to some common errors, slowly the tag has been deprecated. Okay, the comment symbols do not bother the XML parser. Only the comments are visible to it. So the comments symbols protect the CData markers from the JavaScript parsers. So when you give the comments like this now, it will not interpret the code like you have written something. It's like a comment where you can have a simple text kind of notation. So till now we discussed about two types of embedding, that is in the internal or document level, like using a script type is equal to text slash JavaScript in the head section, and another way is like indirect method, that is external JavaScript including using a script type is equal to text slash CSS, and we have to provide a source where we have saved our JavaScript file with the extension .js. Okay. Now coming to the general syntactic characteristics. So identifiers. We start with $_letter. So you can start the identifiers with the help of the dollar symbol, underscore and letter, and continue with $_letter or digit, and it should be case sensitive. Okay, and it is case sensitive. Actually, JavaScript is case sensitive, and you should follow the case sensitive very well. And we have some reserved keywords on JavaScript. So these keywords should be used for a specific purpose only, and in normal text you should not use the reserved keywords. Okay. Comments, you have like two types of comments. Double slash is for single line commenting. For multiple line comments you can have the slash star inside it you can have your text and close the star and again the slash. So you have two kinds of comments in JavaScript. One is a double slash and another is a you can see here like slash star dot dot star. Dot dot goes your text here, whatever the comment text you want to include, a description about your program or anything. Now coming to the syntax. So statements can be terminated with a semicolon. In JavaScript, whatever the statements you write, it has to end with a semicolon. However, the interpreter will insert the semicolon if missing at the end of the line and the statement seems to be complete. So even if you miss semicolon also, the JavaScript interpreter, which reads the JavaScript code, interpreter will reside in your browser only, which helps to understand your JavaScript code and helps to execute the JavaScript code of your browser. So whatever this interpreter will do is like, it understands like if you don't mention the semicolon also, it will take it as, it will have the internal thing to be done, like it considers a semicolon and processes the data. But it is a best practice to use the semicolon at the end of every statement. So see, here we have a problem when we don't include the semicolon. Here written, you have written x in and x semicolon. So it has a two different statements. If a statement must be continued to a new line, make sure that the first line does not make a complete statement by itself. See, here you can see like you have written, you want to return something from a function. For example, in your function you have some fruit names, and if you want to return the fruit names to some variable or anything outside, so then you have to return space x and semicolon. You should not mention it in a two line where we have a confusion like what need to be written in the first line of the statement. So this example I will show you in a next session. So let's go to the theory as we follow in the previous sessions. So these are the primitive types. We call it as a data types in JavaScript. We have a different data types in JavaScript like number, string, boolean, undefined, and null. So these are the data types. Okay, I think your next session is starting. So give me a second. I'm just confirming. Okay, students. So I think your next session will start at 10:40. So what I will do is like just boolean values means yes or no. Undefined means you haven't defined any value for a variable. Null means it has nothing. Even zero is also not considered. Null means nothing. It has the value is null. It doesn't carry any data. So these are the 5 data types we have. There are 5 classes corresponding to the 5 primitive types. So wrapper objects for primitive values, place for methods and properties relevant to the primitive types. So these things let us discuss in the next class, like what are the 5 classes corresponding to the 5 primitive types. So for these primitive types, we can consider the 5 different classes. So today's session, we have just discussed about the root of JavaScript, like what are the standard that we are following. Please go through the other links which are there in the previous slides of the JavaScript concept. And now let us close this session for today. So tomorrow I will continue from slide 17. So continue with the data types. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks all.